This time we're going to look at a Sony 5-disc Super Audio disc player. This will play hybrid and Super Audio discs as well as regular discs. And this one's got an issue, and the fellow that brought it to me, he recently bought this and he's had this issue since he got it. Let's check it out. Today I have a Sony C555ES Super Audio CD player to take a look at. Complaint on this is that some discs it reads in Super Audio and other discs it only reads in standard CD. These are hybrid discs. So the owner of this one brought me two discs, one that reads in Super Audio and the other one, which is a Super Audio disc, it doesn't. We're going to take a look and see why. We can figure out why it's not reading some discs in Super Audio. Now, for those that are not aware, Super Audio, they call them a hybrid disc. They had two layers. They had a DVD type semi-transparent layer, and then they had the fully reflective CD layer on the top. The player starts out and attempts to read it like it would a DVD with the red laser to read the Super Audio layer, which is the lower layer. And if it doesn't see that, then it switches into the infrared mode to read the conventional disc layer. We're going to pull the top off this thing so you can get a look inside it first, and then we'll check it out and see what's going on. See if we can figure out why it's not working. So if you want to see a CD player that's full of crap, here is one. It has got multiple boards in here. Large conventional capacitors, but it also has several surface mounted caps, which are always the ones that make you nervous. We can't even see the drive on this one because there's a cover here and there's all these boards over top of it. The drive should be under here. The actual optical portion should be right underneath here. Here's a look at the bottom. It's got a belt here, belt drive for the loading and unloading, and of course another board. This is probably the servo board here actually for the laser pickup. So if it's a capacitor issue, it's likely one of these stupid surface mount caps is going bad, more than likely. Or it could be a bad optical pickup too, which also could create the problem that he's having. I'm going to try his disc on here. So the problem we're running into on this one is when a disc is put in, it should read it as a hybrid disc and Super Audio CD. Then you can pick whether you want to listen to the multi-channel or two-channel mode. It'll read the table of contents now, and I'll only play the two-channel version off the Super Audio layer. Or we can stop it and switch to the regular CD, and now we'll play the audio CD that would normally play in a regular CD player because these discs are compatible with regular CD players as well. So now it's playing the CD layer. So this disc works. When I go to the other disc, which is also a hybrid disc, it won't identify it as a hybrid disc. It only identifies it as a CD. I can't select it because it says it's not a hybrid disc. That's the problem with this one. As far as I know, the fellow that owns it, he bought this used, and it never worked properly. But as he put it, as he said to me, it's in such good condition, but good condition doesn't mean anything if it's not working properly. I'm going to probably go out on a limb and say it's probably some leaking caps here, caps that the ESR is going high, and could be on this board. This is the one that handles the Super Audio side of things. But we'll get the ESR meter out and just do some measurements on these caps. Those are the first things that I would think of as causing a problem. If not that, it could be the laser pickup. Now, he did say that some discs will work sometimes, and other times they won't. work in super audio mode. So it's obviously not reading that layer. If we look at the discs, you can tell them there's a dual layer disc. You can actually see the two layers if we look closely at the disc itself. I don't know how it'll come across on camera, but you can see that there are two distinct layers on the disc. If we look around the center here, you'll see the two layers. You see the two different layers there? One layer is here. The other layer is the deeper layer. One's a CD layer and the other one is the super audio. So it's got a conventional, they're made like a dual layer DVD. There's two discs that are basically glued together. They're stamped and glued together. And the one layer is for audio CD and the other layer is for the super audio. Just like a dual layer DVD is made. Let's just check a few of these surface mounted caps and see how they look. How's this one? We'll start over here. You can see the meter. That one's open, 10 microfarad. That one is open. First one I try. How about this one? That one looks to be okay. So it might not all be, it might only be one or two of them. I checked that one, didn't I? 0.1. I'll just check all these caps and see. It looks like there's just one that's really bad. Maybe we'll try changing that one and see what happens. How's this one over here? That one also looks like it might be open. Nope, that one's okay. That one looks okay. So it's just this one over here, this 10 microfarad. Maybe I'm not making a connection. It does look like it's, oh, nope, okay. I just wasn't making a connection. So that one's testing okay as well. So these ones all check okay. Let's just check some of the ones on the bottom. 0.3 looks okay. 0.3, that's also looking okay. 6.1. What size is that? Is that 22? That might be a little bit high. 0.3. I'm obviously looking for one that's much higher than the others. 5.8. Stand the meter up so I can see it better. 0.4. Let's say 22. These are all 22s. These are all 22 microfarad, except for two of them are 100s. So all these 22s, I would expect them all to be reading relatively the same. 0.3. 5.7, that's looking a little high. 0.3. 5.6, that's a little high. 0.3. 0.3. 0.3. 2.1. 1.2 I should say. What's this one here? 1.5. 0.3. 22 at 16 volts should be like 3 ohms or less. 0.4. So those ones are okay. Those ones that are 5 ohms though, made me kind of nervous. What about these ones here? What are these ones? 12. What size is this? This is a 10 or a 22? These ones are 10. These ones are 10 at 16 volts. So 10 at 16 volts should be 8 or less. So 12, that's a little high. 9.2, looking a little better. 13, that's a little high. 2.5. 9.4. 2.5. 5.6. 5.6 on 100 microfarad. That's looking a little high. And this one here is 4.9, 100 microfarad. I think they should be down at around 1.6. So likely the problem is some caps on this board here are going bad. More than likely, that's where the fault is on this one, and why it's not reading. Because this is the servo board that does the focus and everything for both layers, right? This is what will focus. So if you've got a cap that's going bad, it may not be focusing properly, and some discs are the specification might be a little bit different for a couple of the discs. See, I was measuring 6 ohms, but it's a 22 at 10 volts. So 22 at 10 volts, 5.4 is considered to be pretty normal. So 5.6, that's probably within spec. 0.3, it's certainly higher than the other ones, which are down at 0.3. But they're still within spec. But these two here would be the ones that I would probably consider replacing, and a couple of these 10s that are up here. That one and maybe that one. We can try those and see whether that will make it read those discs. I'm going to change 4 of the 10 microfarad and 2 of the 22, and we'll try that and see whether that will fix the problem. We'll start with those. These are the ones that have the highest ESR of all of them. So I've got some caps here. Thing is, I got to be concerned about is the is clearance, because this moves right when it opens and closes. I want to make sure that it's in the up position. I don't want to have capacitors that stick down too far and could end up having it hit the bottom when it opens. So let's just open the drawer up and just see where it goes. Yeah, see, this comes down like this when the drawer opens, and even though there is a cutaway, you got to make sure that the parts themselves stay down relatively low. Otherwise they could, I'll have to lie them flat on the board, otherwise they could make contact with the bottom, and that would be bad. So I'll start by cutting out the first cap here that I'm going to change, which is this one here, C019. Cut that out and remove it from the board. See, they haven't failed in the traditional means that that they're dried up and they're leaking onto the board. They haven't failed like that yet, but just the fact that the ESR is starting to creep up a bit on them is enough to make me want to change them out. They may be just enough out of spec that it's not focusing properly, so at least they have not leaked, so I don't have to worry about the board itself being damaged from leakage, because the caps themselves have not leaked, which is good. Remove the remnants of the old pin. I get a new one prepped and ready to go. Just had a disaster with my toolbox. Went to grab a tool out of it and it became unbalanced and fell off the other bench and dumped my tools all over the place.
I love this spot. What's this? Ah, shit! Fuck! I got electrocuted again, didn't I? That's all right. It happens weekly. I'll fly it off. I'll fly it off. Yeah.
That came in my feed. I could not resist sharing that one with you guys. Okay, we're gonna bend the legs down like that so that I can attach this to the board, and then it'll lie right in here. So I think once I change the 410 microfarad, I'll try it and see whether it will read. And then we'll do the other ones, the other two, to see whether it's the 10s or the 22s. If it's that, I mean, it could be that it's not the caps at all. It could very well be that the problem itself is something other than a capacitor, such as the optical pickup could be at fault. Right? That's always a possibility, that it's the optical pickup that's not reading the DVD layer, basically the super audio layer, which is the same as a DVD. So after replacing the 4 caps, it's still only seeing it as a straight CD. It is not seeing it as a hybrid disc. So we'll do the other two, and hopefully, fingers crossed, that's going to get it to work, because if it doesn't, then it's something a little more serious than a few caps that have gone out of spec. Okay, those are replaced now. So I've changed out the 6 caps that were registering a little bit high on the ESR scale. I'm not, I don't think this is going to fix it. I mean, maybe it will, if it was the caps that were causing it, but I think it probably is something more serious than just a few caps that are out of spec. But we got to start somewhere, and that's the place to start. When you have caps that are out of spec, that's the first place to start. Well, this disc, it's still only detecting it as a CD. If I press the button here, it says not hybrid. So unfortunately, what's going to be wrong with this one, and I know the guy that owns it's not going to be looking forward to this news, but it's going to end up being the optical pickup that's at fault. It's not reading the super audio layer of the disc. If I put in the other disc, and see, it's affecting some discs and not others, and that's because there's variance in each disc. See, this disc, it's reading it as a hybrid disc, super audio. It's got a bunch of test signals on here too after the music, like pink noise. I guess sound effects. They have bonus tracks on here. When I load up the other disc, it only reads this one as a regular CD. So unfortunately, the problem with this is going to be the optical pickup is bad. So that might be something that we have to try to order in and see if we can resolve that. First of all, have to research and see how easy one is to come by. If we look at the caps I put in it, we'll see that the ESR now that was measuring high before is now nice and low, right? So those caps that are changed were definitely on their way out. And they've been replaced. But that wasn't the cause of the problem, although they probably would have been a cause of a problem down the road as they continue to increase in their ESR state. The only thing that hasn't been addressed is the optical pickup. There's no focus adjustments. Yeah, there is an optical power adjustment, but without proper equipment to measure the actual output power from the laser diode, you don't really want to start messing around with that, because if you turn it up too much, you'll just burn it out. So this one here, I'm going to throw the bottom on it because there's not a heck of a lot that I can do on this at this point. I'll put a bit of silicone on here to stop these parts from moving so that they are secured in place. But I'm going to throw this one together and send it back to the owner of it and let him know that you may have to look into finding a replacement optical pickup for it, and if we go down that road, we'll change it. It looks to be relatively easy to change. It looks like it can be taken out from the bottom. From the looks of things, it can come out from the bottom. I can see down here that there's a rail that can be removed. If you look at the optical pickup here, flex cable, there'll be a couple little jumpers on there to protect the laser before you disconnect it. Looks to have two lasers, one here, one over there, and that's the readout for reading the data back. So it's got a red laser and an infrared, and that gives it the ability to play back conventional CDs as well. But it looks to be that it's pretty easy to take out. There's one screw back here that holds the, you guys can't see it, but there is a screw right down there, right there, that holds that rail in place. Remove that screw and the rail should lift out, and there's another one up front here, but that one probably does not have to come out. Take out the two screws, or one screw anyway, to take out the back bracket for the rail, and then the rail should lift out, and the optical pickup should lift out relatively easy, I think, from the bottom. So the whole entire player does not have to be completely disassembled to get at it. So it looks to be relatively straightforward to change the optical pickup on this unit. And depending on whether the owner of it wants to proceed or not, then comes the challenge of trying to find one, because these players haven't been made in a long time. Most of you already know that Super Audio was a commercial failure. Rank it right up there with digital audio tape and digital compact cassettes, although digital audio tape had success in the commercial market. But SCD failed, and there's not much as far as new content being released on Super Audio discs. There's not very much. A few titles have been released, but most of the stuff these days is just old stuff that was released between 2000 and 2005. Super Audio basically failed because of a format war, so to speak. Kind of like what happened with VHS and Beta and DVD and Blu-ray versus HD DVD. From what I remember reading, what happened with Super Audio was Toshiba did not want to play with Sony and Philips, who developed the Super Audio format. They did not want to pay a royalty licensing fee, which incidentally was the same fee that they paid to make CD players. So it wasn't like it was some ridiculous fee. It was, I guess, a per unit fee that was the same fee that they would use or would pay to make a regular CD player. They didn't want to pay a fee. They wanted to go out and do their own, and they launched their own DVD audio format to compete with Super Audio. So after a few years of the format war, Super Audio just kind of went away and became another obsolete format, a niche format, as they say, for audiophiles to collect. Anyway, I'm going to just put a little bit of silicone on here just so that these parts don't move, and then we'll reassemble this unit. I just remembered, I didn't change these two 100 microfarad caps, which were measuring a little bit high, actually quite a bit. They were measuring like 5 or 6 ohms, and they should be like less than 1. So maybe we'll change those out. I've got a couple of them here. I think they're probably low enough profile that I can tuck them in here. We'll just try those just for the hell of it, because I'm in here already, and see. I'm already losing my shirt on this as it is, so might as well lose a little bit more of my shirt, because not making any money on something that I don't rectify, that's for sure. Okay, so it's still only reading this disc. As when I first plugged this disc in, it actually came up and said SACD for a second. I was getting excited there. Then it went to regular CD. I was getting excited there. It said SACD initially, and then it went back to regular CD. This is the Kebmo CD, or disc that's not reading. So it's reading the classical disc, 48 tracks on here, because it's got the test tones as well. But it's reading this classical disc in Super Audio. But for how long it's going to read it in Super Audio, that's the question, because as the pickup continues to get weaker, I'm sure it's not going to read it. As the owner said, some of his other discs sometimes read and sometimes don't. Like this one here just doesn't read in Super Audio at all. But some of his other discs sometimes do and sometimes don't. We've eliminated caps that are going high in ESR on the server board as being the fault, so optical pickup is all it remains. There's the inside of this player. They look to be really well constructed, and I guess for the $2,000 that they cost when they were new, that's what you were paying for. You were paying for these high quality caps that are in here. Gold line. They're Elna. These are Elna. Are these ones Elna too? That's an Elna cap. Nikon. These are Nikons. Gold line. That's an Elna. Anyway, one final test after reassembly. It's interesting because you see we got all these tracks, including all these tests, like a steam train, for example. I can probably play that one. One thing's for sure, you can tell that this CD player has been in CD mode much more than it's been in SACD mode, because the letters CD are burned or dimmer on the vacuum display than the SA discs. So this unit has been used for most of its life in regular CD mode. I should point out that this is only available also in the 5.1 channel. If I switch the 5.1 off, these bonus tracks are not there. It's just the same audio as the CD, the 14 tracks. There's actually quite a lot going on, even though we don't seem to hear much. Take a look at the turn off the fan here. Take a look at the power meters on my amplifier. Like, there's not a lot happening, but there's a lot of power. Like, just right now I'm driving what, 10 watts and we can't even hear anything. It's all high frequency stuff, probably burning out my tweeters. But it's ridiculous. If I stop it from playing, there's a lot of activity happening in the background there. Go to the steam train again. Interesting. Interesting that there's... It's interesting to see what actually is there. You know, because...
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
Like, what is all that? Like, what is all that racket that's there? Why are my meters going up when there's... Like, before the music even starts, look. Like, what's going on here? That's just the background noise. Or just the noise in the concert hall. Okay, that one's not nearly as loud as the others were. Interesting. I'm going to throw a scope on there and take a look at what that noise is, or what that is we're seeing, because that is, to see the meters move up like that before there's even any sound, there's a lot happening in the background there. Okay, let's look at what happens before the music even starts. What's with that? Like, that's... I guess that's just the background noise. When I change tracks, it goes away until the actual recording starts. But I see it on all of the tracks on this disc. I wonder if I played just the CD only. Let me just switch it from the... turn the 5.1 off and see what happens. So the 5.1 is turned off now. It's just the 2-channel mode. It's still there. I'm gonna turn off the super audio and just go to the regular disc. See whether there's noise. Well, nowhere near. Isn't that amazing? And I don't see the... Oh, so that's the audio, the standard. We'll go back to the hybrid, and I'm going to show you the meters on the stereo here. So I'll start the hybrid reading. This is the super audio. As soon as it kicks in, what's all that noise? I'll show you the meter on the stereo too. So here is the meter. As soon as I start it playing, here it kicks in. Watch the meters. Boom. Okay, I'll switch it back to standard CD. Okay. That's your background noise. Right in the concert hall before it starts, if I crank the volume. Right? I got it all the way up. So, now I'll leave the volume cranked all the way up and I'll switch it back to the super audio side. Watch those meters before the music kicks in. I'm surprised I haven't taken out my tweeters. Like, what is all that noise that kicks in right now? Like, that's full power. What is it? That's full power. 0 dB. I got the amp cranked up all the way, and I'm getting... I don't want to blow my stuff up here. We don't want to blow my speakers. But that's nasty. Like, even at normal listening volumes, you're seeing signal. Back to the silly scope. That's before the music starts. Something's not right on this thing, and I think it's a little more serious than just a little more serious than just this inability to play some of the super audio discs. That's kind of disturbing, if you ask me, with all that noise in the background that's being amplified by the amplifier. There's a snapshot sample on the digital scope. Let's just take a look at what this is. This is what is happening before the music even plays, as soon as the background sound comes on. But wow, I mean, that's kind of nasty, isn't it? Right? I just took a snapshot in time. We'll just run, and we'll bring this up. We'll start playing again here. There's the noise. See, it's quiet before, and then as soon as it kicks in, you got all this noise. That's nasty. I mean, it's a sine wave, obviously. We look into it enough, it's a sine wave, but that's a lot of activity going on there in the waveform that I would never have ever in a million years expected that I would see that. You know, if we zoom in enough, you know, that's what we're seeing. Try to measure this and see what 70 kilohertz. So this is, you know, 96 kilo. This is really high frequency stuff. I'm surprised that my amplifier is even amplifying that. Because this, I mean, it's way up there. We're talking 60 kilohertz. You guys can't see it because my camera zoomed in a little bit, but if we look at the frequency, this is what we're seeing, and that's what my meters are registering. That's why we don't hear anything. It's so far up that I'm surprised that this amplifier I'm using, it's just an old Akai AM2450. I'm surprised that it's actually able to amplify that, but it was showing up on the meters. That's what kind of caught my eye as I saw all this power going to my speakers, going to my tweeters, which I can't hear because it's 60 kilohertz. But that's obviously not going to hear anything above about 15 or 16 kilohertz at my age. Probably lucky if I can hear 15 kilohertz. But there it is. I mean, it's you know, we look at it. You know, .62 kilohertz is what we sampled that time. If I take this out to the here's the little steam train here. 47 kilohertz, 43 kilohertz, right? It's there's a lot of activity. That's just the resolution, because these can go much higher than 20 kilohertz that a conventional CD player can go. But I just found it amazing that my amplifier actually amplifies it. And sure enough, if I turn down the treble, it goes down. Right, so it's all high frequency noise. Anyway, I just figured I would point that out. I'm kind of rambling on now. This video's gone on far too long for something that I really can't do anything about, because we obviously need to find a new pickup for this one. But I'll leave that one with the owner of it and see what he wants to do. He may just turn around and sell it to somebody else, because I think he bought it and it was like this when he bought it. And the guy he bought it from probably knew that it had a problem, and rather than fix it, he just turned around and sold it, which is what a lot of them do. Is a lot of people, when they see something is starting to act up a little bit, they don't want it to be their problem. They just sell it and let it become somebody else's problem. Anyway, thanks for watching.